Hey, Flyers fans, I'm Rick Mullen, and you are listening to Hattrick's Unofficial Flyers podcast. We are going to talk about the Philadelphia Flyers and Danny Briere's crazy offer sheet to Leo Carlson. I am pumped. I am absolutely pumped by this. We're going to talk about it. We're going to see how things go here. And man, it's great to be back. When I was growing up watching the Flyers always did everything they could to try to sign players, spend money, and bring talent here to give the Flyers a chance to win. A lot of times, obviously, that didn't work out, but they were always exciting. There was always like something coming that you knew they were going to try to do something to help. And we haven't had that in a long time, in a really long time. It's been kind of boring in Flyerland up until I think Danny Briere and Jonesy took over. They had a window of time. We all knew it was going to be like 3 to 5 years where they had to get out from under contracts. They had to clear the cupboards, right? Do better drafts and build this team internally because it was really hard to find anything external to trade for. However, Danny's done a fantastic job. I mean, he really has. He brought Vlad in last year. He got Wall as a backup for us this upcoming year. I really think that tandem of those two players are going to be fantastic. I just look at this team, and 2 years ago it was hard to watch. 5 years ago it was even harder to watch. But every year since Danny and Jonesy have been here, it's been getting better and better. And lo and behold, we get into this off season, and sadly, we have all this money, and we all knew it was coming. Jonesy did, Danny did, and we were all planning for this to be a big summer. And a lot of the free agents had signed, and there wasn't much to get. And Danny was in on so many people lately. Like John Carlson, he overpaid John Carlson, and John Carlson decided to take less money and go to Tampa. So Danny's been trying and trying and trying. So going back to this Leo Carlson offer sheet, I am just excited. I'm excited that Danny had the balls, and he did. Danny had the balls to put this offer sheet together. He had some help with the previous GM that used to work with the Ducks organization that had a lot of inside information on the contracts that they hated, the Ducks hated to match. And, it seemed to be long-term deals, big money and signing bonuses, right? UFA contracts, or like took you up to UFA status. And Danny Briere used all that information, and he sent a poisoned pilled offer sheet to Leo Carlson. And we're going to talk about it, right? We're going to talk the good, the bad, the ugly, and what the chances and possibilities are here. So, going over everything, if you look at this from what's being reported out there, it's historically known that Pat Verbeek is not easy to work with. He's very, very difficult. Very difficult. He is a nickel and dimer, a penny pincher. He doesn't want anybody to feel like they got over on him, and he plays hardball with all his players. So many people have already left that organization: McTavish, Zegras, Drysdale, few others that had the same experience with him. And if they fought the process of just giving in to Verbeek, they missed camp. They came in late. Like Pat Verbeek created a horrible, horrible situation for the Ducks. At the same time, he's done fantastic things for the Ducks. Like he's really turned a corner there, or turned a page with the Ducks organization and getting them back to, winning the second round of a playoffs. And he's done a very formidable job out there. However, if you look at everything that's happening and all the players that left or wanted to leave, he could have done a lot better. Like I can't imagine, like if he was just a normal person here and was doing things the right way, what that Ducks team would look like. They would be a true contender probably, because he's a smart man with certain things. And sadly, he's an absolute dope in other things. And this is why the Ducks are in this position. Leo Carlson was coming up to his contract end, and they could have done a deal last year. I believe the rumor was, at least what was reported, was Carlson in an interview. He said it himself. I think he said he would have signed like an 8-year deal for like $9 million, and it never happened. Right. So then we go forward, and, Leo and his agent are trying to get a deal done, and Verbeek puts the brakes on it, and he's like, "Nah, we're going to wait till after the season. We'll deal with it then." So he basically let Leo go into this position to get offer sheeted, which is insane. He's your number one center, your star player, and he decides this is what he's going to do. Really, it's criminal. It really is. Like, it's just criminal. And Verbeek just signed a 3-year extension with the Ducks. So I just don't get it. But I'm glad he dropped the ball here with Leo. So rumor has it, again, what's being reported is that the offers that were coming in for Leo by the Ducks were somewhere between 12 to $13 million. Some were reporting it was like 12 and a half. And Carlson didn't want that. Carlson wanted 15. That's what he was asking for from what I'm hearing and reading. So he wanted 15 million. And Verbeek wouldn't do it. He's just wouldn't do it. So I read again, all this information's out there for you guys to all find, but it sounds like the agent for Leo went to Pat Verbeek and said, "Look, we have these offer sheets. Here's some of the stuff we're getting offered, and we want 15, and Verbeek still won't do it. He wants to do 12 or 13, and that's it." Is that an acceptable amount for Leo Carlson? Yeah, it is. It's definitely an acceptable amount. However, Verbeek was not reading the room. Basically, Carlson had options, and he's been playing this game with Verbeek for over a year, and he had enough. So supposedly 4 teams offered a offer sheet to Leo Carlson. One of the offer sheets were rumored to be, I believe it was like 8 years at 17 and a half, something like that. So it was a long one. I don't know who did it. I'm sure we'll find out soon, like what other teams offered, and if that was actually a real offer. But one of the offers that I read was 8 years at like 17 and a half. And Leo decided not to take that one, and he decided to sign with the Flyers. And that is where things get really interesting, okay? Because that says a lot. That says that, you have to read between the lines that Leo Carlson wants to play with the Flyers because that's the offer that he chose. He wants to be a Flyer. I think that goes into Jamie Drysdale and Zegras talking with him more than likely. That's tampering, right? But it's got to be it. He probably heard great things from them. He probably heard that they have a great organization, that they're up and coming. They have great training facilities. I really do. I think Leo Carlson heard all these good things. I think Leo Carlson playing here with us and having the fans like destroy Cutter. I think, he knows that the fans are involved. He knows that the fans are loud. And I think he wants to be a Flyer. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But let's talk about this contract for right now, or this offer sheet, I should say. So Danny Briere, with all the internal information that he received from a prior Ducks GM, sent a $18 million 5-year deal out to Leo Carlson. And part of that has the last year in that contract being a no movement clause whatsoever. So it's not a limited, it's a no movement clause. So year 5, he has a no movement clause. If the Ducks retain, they can't trade him if they can't sign him. They have to wait, and there's a possibility that Leo could roll, and they get nothing. So that 5th year poison pill there, no movement clause is huge. On top of that, the Flyers gave it a very bonus heavy front end loaded contract. And I don't have numbers exactly in front of me, but I believe he gets like 19 or 20 million this year just for signing on the dotted line. I think another 19, 20 mil next year. Verbeek and the Ducks have no people on their roster that have a bonus structure in their contract, except for Kreider. And the Ducks didn't give that to Kreider. Kreider actually had it built in. That's big too. That just goes and shows that even though the Ducks are owned, I forget the people's name that owns it. They're very, very wealthy. They're billionaires. I mean, billionaires, they could take this money out of their pocket in a minute and pay. So they're wealthy owners, but at the same time, they're cheap. They're not willing to pay bonuses to any of their people. They're not treating their players right. They're pinching every nickel, dime, and penny out of these players, and they're making the process hard and frustrating to the point where the players want to leave. So if you look at this contract, just on its whole, it's a pretty solid contract. It goes against everything the Ducks believe in. I mean, everything. The second part of this is Verbeek is a very, very proudful man. It's his way or no way, and that's it. So now you got this guy who's an adamant ego, right? Who doesn't want to bend to anyone's rules, who wants to do things his way. He takes this book out of Yzerman, right? I think he trained under Yzerman. And, you look at this and think, he's got to be looking at this thinking right now, do I sign this guy and do I match this contract? I hate everything about it. He's probably completely pissed off at Leo for signing it. He is going to have a problem with Leo, I think. I don't think he can get away from this mentally. I think he's going to have a problem with Leo. There's stuff all over the boards calling that for Leo Carlson doing the wrong thing and not giving him a C or an A or anything, since he didn't want to be here to begin with. So there's some fan blowback over there that he signed it. Even if Pat Verbeek and the Ducks match it, a lot of the fans were pissed. They're like, our hands are tied. Leo just killed us. No matter what we do, it's a lose-lose. So I think the fans, like 50% of the fans are pissed off and don't want Leo there no more. The other 50% are like, hey, you can't let him go. You got to sign him. And I really think Pat Verbeek is fighting this too. I really do. I think Pat Verbeek is sitting there thinking, not even thinking, I think he's stewing. He's pissed. I think he's just like, you know what? I don't want this kid on my team. He didn't want to sign. We offered him 13 mil, 12 and a half. Maybe that was fair. Leo decided not to take it. Like, does he really want to be here? So like right now you got to start thinking like, does this contract get matched? And this is just all the front loaded, the bonuses, the 5th year no movement clause. Like, if you just look at the contract structure, really think about this, okay? If the Ducks are worried that, and Pat Verbeek are worried that come year 5, when this takes Leo Carlson up to a UFA, Leo can pretty much determine what he wants to do. He just got paid a ton of money. So Leo could take that year, and he knows he wants a big contract at the end of that year. Ducks probably are not that team that wants to do that. So he could say, okay, well, I'm not signing. I'm going to go test that free market again and see what I can get. And the Ducks have no power to stop him. They can't trade him. Nothing. They can't trade him. Even if they get offers for him, Carlson could turn around and say, nope, nope, I'm just waiting, finishing this year out. I'm going to go to UFA in the summer and see how this folds out. So in my opinion, you got this guy that you just signed. And I think, and you follow this out, and we're going to go down a real long rabbit hole here. This Ducks team has a lot of other problems. This Ducks team is really up against the cap. Minty Yukov, hopefully I said that right. He's their defenseman. He was rumored to be signing like maybe a 3 or 5 year deal with them for like $3 to $4 million. And then lo and behold, there was an offer sheet being talked about, and he made a deal with the Ducks. He made a deal with the Ducks for 5 years at $7.2 million. So it's at least $3 million more than what the Ducks were going to pay him. They also gave him a signing bonus. Verbeek learned he's got to start doing that. I'm sure the owners in Verbeek went at it like, this is not how we're going to operate moving forward. There's things here that we need to do to be normal and in line to keep our players happy. So he did have a signing bonus on this Minty Yakov contract, but it's also $3 million more than what they thought. So if you look at the numbers, if the Ducks match, and this is just money right now, we're going to talk about other things in a minute, but if the Ducks match the offer, that's $18 million out to Leo Carlson, AAV. Minty Yukov, he's got 7.2. That leaves 9.9 million left for them to sign Cutter, which I think he's eligible next year, right? 9.9 million. Cutter's going to probably want 12 to 14 million himself. He's a 40 goal scorer. I know it's only been once, but he's a 40 goal scorer. They're very rare in the NHL. And I mean, in all honesty, he belongs to receive over 10, $12 million for sure. I doubt Cutter is going to settle and say, hey, let's take a team discount, right? So the Ducks have 9.9 million to sign Cutter, I think Hind, and they're not done. Like, their team's a mess. Like, they have a terrible blue line. They just do. So what they would have to do is they'd have to clear them some space. And can they do that? Yeah, absolutely they can. Vetrano, I think, has a deal for $4.57 million, and Kreider has a $6.5 million AAV deal on the table. So they have to get rid of one or two of them, and they probably will if they're going to match. That's what we're going to see. We're going to see one of the or two of these guys move out. But do you really want to do that if you're the Ducks? Like, you're going to go and roll with these three guys who are going to be making like 35 to 38, 39 million, these three players, just the three of them. And you're not going to be able to ice a good team. You're basically going to have to put like all rookies on defense, like $1.5, $2 million deals. You're not going to really have a team that you're going to be able to put out there for probably a year, maybe two, maybe. Okay. And we're going to talk about that too. So when you look at this, you see a lot of different angles here. You see the Ducks would have to decimate their team and take a step backwards for sure, because they're going to have to play a lot of rookies that aren't making any money. They're not going to be able to sign anybody because they're going to be right up against the cap. It's going to be tough for them. And they don't have the core team that the Flyers do. Right? The Flyers have a lot, I think, better younger players. We're a little more stable on the wings. We can drop a contract or two when we take Carlson in if he ever gets there. And it may not hurt us as much as it will hurt the Ducks. So you think about it from a numbers perspective, and they would have to try to figure out a way to make this work, for at least a year or two. The cap for this upcoming year is $104 million. So they're under this cap of 104. But when you go into 27, 28, it goes up to 113, right? So that's another 9 million increase there. And then 28 to 29, what did I say? It was 123 million that year. So they can get there. It's going to be really hard for them, but they have to pull their belt really tight, play with a bunch of rookies, go backwards this year. They'd get another 9 million available to them next year, and then things would start working out a little bit better for them. However, if one of these rookies comes up and he's playing really good and he wants a $8-7 million deal, they're right back at it again. They have an issue. So they would have to carry these young kids who make no money for a while and hope that they can make it through, because if not, they're going to have the same problem. They're going to have a kid who's playing really good out of the blue here, and someone's going to offer sheet them. So the cap does go up. It will help the Ducks over time. They just need to get there if they can. So when you look at this, the biggest question is what, and this is the funny part, right? How bad does Cutter want to screw the Flyers? Because Cutter could turn around and say, you know what, man, like, I hate the Flyers. Give me like a 3-year deal, pay me $7 million, and man, I'm okay. You just have a handshake promise that I'm going to get this huge payout in the end. Could he do that? Yeah. Do we foresee him doing that? Not a chance. Not a chance. His agent would rip him up for doing that. You know what? It's not your problem. You get the money you deserve, and that's it. We don't play this game taking hometown discounts, and I just don't see it happen. But it's kind of funny that it really could. Like, if Cutter did want to, he could do that. He could take a 1-year deal and just get paid 5-6 million or whatever, and then push it off a year. But kind of crazy. And if he does it, if he was to do something like that, it was 100% because he was trying to screw the Flyers and keep Leo with him. So anyhow, looking at this whole deal from, very high, because I'm not connected to it, and none of us really are except for Danny and them. If I was Pat Verbeek, what would I do? And this is where it gets ugly, because one, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and this is where I'm trying to read between the lines, or see through the smoke, see through the trees, like what's going on in the background. I really think, and I hope, I really do, I hope that Carlson finally blew up after all this delay in his contract extensions, and then finally having some offers and telling the Ducks, and the Ducks still like, no, we're not doing it. We're doing like 12 to 13 million. I really hope that Carlson said he doesn't want to be there anymore. Like, it's not public, but I want to move. I'm not happy. I don't want to be here anymore. I've seen too many of my friends go. I've seen how this organization has done this for years to everybody, and I just don't want to be part of it. Like just let me move on, and that's it. And that could be happening in a little bit. It really could. But this is a business too, and the Ducks might be like, no, man, my best opportunity here is to keep you and make you play. All right. Now, is that going to happen? I don't know. What's everyone's thoughts here on this offer sheet? I'm excited. I really am. I was just as excited when the Shea Weber came down. I'm more excited this time. Leo is going to be a hell of a player, and that's what scares me the most. Like, we all know this kid's only 21 years old, and he's a prototypical big, fast, scoring, creative center. Why would anyone in their right mind let this kid go? He's only 21. He's only going to get better. And Verbeek has to be sitting there thinking the same thing. Like, there's no chance I'm letting this kid go. Like, we'd have to try to find him again somewhere in the draft or a trade. And Flyers can't do it. Like, there's a lot of teams that can't do it. We're not going to be able to do it. There's no way we can let this guy go. Like, he's more important to us than any winger on his team. And if we have to like cut her and let him go, it's almost impossible to get a 1C. And we're going to have to deal with this. I mean, that's realistically what they're thinking, in my opinion. Now go back to the other side, and there's two ways to look at it, right? You have a guy who has an ego problem. You guy who has a control problem. You have a guy who in Pat Verbeek that is pissed off that this happened. Yeah, I'm sure he's under the gun with management now. So he's pissed off. He's got to deal with this. He's pissed off that Leo Carlson, was offered, in his opinion, a very good contract to stay there. And a 12 to 13 million, which, honest to God, was a fair contract. It was. Could they've gotten a little more? Yeah. I think if he was on the Flyers already, the Flyers probably would have gave him 14, 15 for sure. He's a 1C, and he's a darn good 1C, and he's a young kid. We probably would have done that, to keep him, because you can't find them players. So the stubbornness of Pat Verbeek by not going to 15, it sounds, is like what hurt him. It's what started this whole mess. So does Pat Verbeek swallow his pride and take this kid back that I'm sure he's pissed off at? I'm sure he is, and half the fans are. And if he takes him back and it hampers the Ducks for years because they don't have enough money to improve the team, he just basically, again, they poison pilled the Ducks. If this doesn't work for 2 to 3 years here, right, they literally have to trade Carlson, not in year 5, because they won't be able to. Year 4, if they're under the gun where they're not doing too well, they could possibly trade him. But there might be a lot of teams going like, no, we don't want that like yet. You know what I mean? Or they don't want to give up that much for him, which I doubt that. I think someone would get him. But if you really look at it, they got maybe a 3-year window here with him before they have to determine going into year 4, do they get rid of this kid if they don't think they can re-sign him? Because in all honesty, chances are, come the end of that contract, the Flyers are going to come back knocking to try to sign this kid. And this kid's going to be loyal to probably the Flyers a little bit here because of what the Flyers, did to his pocket. So there's a really good chance that if Leo Carlson doesn't see improvement on the Ducks, and he won't for probably 2 years because they're going to be stuck in cap hell, that he walks. And that means they're going to be under the gun, the Ducks, to trade him in year 3 or at the end of year 3 or 4. So there's a lot to think about here from the Ducks organization. And I think, there's talk that, the Ducks could go back and do what the Flyers did with Chris Gratton, right? We offered Sheet to Chris Gratton, and instead of just sending the picks back, they actually worked out a trade, some picks and some trade and a couple bodies. So, Pat Verbeek has to come back to Danny, and if they're contemplating both sides, and say, hey, if we give you him, if we don't match, we don't want all these 4 first-round picks, because in reality, these 4 first-round picks are probably going to be like number 20 and above all 4 years. So let's do this. You keep like 2 of the picks, give us 2 of the picks, and maybe send us a Tippett or a Barkey or a Bump or someone like that, right? So there's a chance here that Verbeek could save some face, get back like maybe a Noah Cates, a winger too, like maybe a Tippett and a first. This way the Flyers get to keep, and they get their number 1, and they clear a couple salaries out, because they're going to have to clear some salaries out. But we'll see. We'll see. What do I think that's going to happen? I really don't know, and it's really sad. If you listen to everybody out here, and they're all saying pretty much it's a done deal that the Ducks are not going to let this guy walk. They can't let a 1C walk. They can't. And I get that. And we're not privy to a lot of things happening behind the scenes. I'm up to thinking that Carlson doesn't want to be there. He told him that. He's tried to deal with them. He's tried to sign with them. They wouldn't sign. I really think that Carlson maybe told him that he doesn't want to be there. And that's what I'm hoping for anyway. And I'm hoping Verbeek doesn't want him there anyway, and he doesn't match. That's what I'm hoping for, just like every other Flyer fan. Do I think that's going to happen? I am honestly and truly 50-50. I think if you look at everything combined, I think the Ducks hurt themselves, in my opinion, if they hold on to Leo Carlson. 100%, I think they hurt themselves. Period. I don't think there's any way shaking around it. It's going to take them a few years to get out of this. They're going to be in cap hell. It's going to take a while to get out of it. So I think for the next 2 to 3 years, the Ducks will be in some financial pain. It will eventually clear, but they have to get through those 2 or 3 years. If they really look at it and say, hey, this kid wasn't happy, he didn't want to be here, we tried to sign him for a year and a half, and he wouldn't do it. We have 4 first-round picks. Maybe we could turn those 4 first-round picks into something else, or maybe we can not take the 4 first-round picks. Maybe we can get a player or 2 from the Flyers and a pick or 2. I think the Ducks are in a better position to do that. There was some theories out there where the Ducks could take the picks and maybe another player the Flyers give them, and maybe flip it over for Petey up in Vancouver. They could maybe put a package together for Dylan Larkin. Possibly maybe they could offer Sheet Fantilli. So the Ducks do have some options here. It's not horrible to take and accept this deal. I think, in all honesty, I think it's better for them. I don't think they have $18 million to lock down when they could turn around and get 2 good guys at 9 and improve their team probably better. They may have 2 good lines instead of just 1 good line. Maybe they have 1 really good line and a good defenseman that they can upgrade over there. So I think the Ducks have a lot of holes that they could fill from this deal. And it would, my opinion, it would be better for them to take the deal, don't match on Carlson, get the picks, do a trade, improve their roster, save some money. That's my thoughts. But again, I think it's 50-50 at this point. I think they're thinking about this too. I think they don't want to look stupid and lose their 1C. And they're battling with their egos, their pride, and not thinking through on the business end of how this is going to affect them. So we shall see. We shall see how this all works out. And it's going to end, I think it's like Friday at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock, something like that. They have until then to match. And all Flyers fans, I'm sure, are watching and reading Twitter and YouTube and doing everything they can every day to see if there's any update. And there probably won't be. There really probably won't be. They're going to ride this thing all the way out to the end because they have to. They got to look like they put a lot of thought process in it. And even if they're thinking about it, it's going to take time. If they're like, okay, we're not going to match this guy, even if they know right now they're not matching, they have to get out there and start beating the phones and start talking to players and teams about signing them. Like, hey, if we get these 2 or 4 first rounders, what does this look like? What can we get? Blah, 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 blah. So they have a lot of work to do in these next 4 or 5 days here. So anxiously waiting to Friday. I am hoping and praying they do not match. I would love to see Leo Carlson here on this team. It would make the Flyers an absolute contender in the East. I think we have a really good core of young guys. If for some reason the Flyers can go and trade out some of these people to clear some space for Carlson. I don't mean if for some reason. I'm sorry. If the Ducks don't ask for a trade and they only take the 4 picks, the Flyers probably have to trade 1 or 2 guys. What does that look like? I don't know. Like maybe the Flyers do 2 or 3 guys like a Risto, and I'm just throwing names out there, right? But like a Risto, a Tippett, and I don't know, a Bonk, and maybe they could sign 1 big defenseman, 1 really good stud defenseman. I don't know. I'm just kicking stuff around. But I know that was probably a huge overpay. But they're going to, sadly, they're going to probably have to lose to 2 guys, two good guys that, I think the fans are going to hate to see gone. So it's going to be a bittersweet. It would be very sweet to have Carlson here, and very bitter to watch two of our boys go somewhere else because there's not enough money to retain them. Lastly, real quick, rumor on Claude Giroux coming to the Flyers to end his career. Was it Dave Pagnotta reported that Claude Giroux signed a contract with the Flyers, and that came out like 2 days ago, I believe 2 days ago. There has been no confirmation from anybody that has happened. I think Giroux's camp actually came out and said Giroux was taking his time to trying to see what his best deal will be, because it's probably his last year in the NHL and he wants to make the right decision. So even though it was reported he was signing with the Flyers, he did not sign with the Flyers yet, but the Flyers are in the mix. I don't know how that works out. Like, I really don't. I don't know if he's only in the mix if they don't sign Leo, or he's only coming here if we do sign Leo because then he feels he has a chance. I'm not sure. I'm not sure at all. However, the rumors still out there that they are trying to bring G home and let him retire here as a Flyer. So lots going on right now. I'm anxious to see what goes on. There's even talk that if this falls through, the Flyers might backpedal and offer sheet Fantilli. Maybe. There's articles out there right now for people saying it can be done. Other people saying, hey, why are we stopping at Fantilli? Why don't we just add $2 more million to that and go get Bedard? It's crazy in Flyer land right now. It really is. It's good to see. It's good to read. It's good to see everyone excited. I just am praying that the Flyers have suffered for a really long time. And if this deal goes through, this will make up for all the pain that we have been dealing with for years. It really will. I will be so pumped to have Leo on this team. I am praying that this goes through. I'm sure I'm going to be disappointed if you read all the big names out here, listen to their podcasts, pretty much all these big guys are saying they don't think it's going to happen. How do you not match on Leo Carlson? It's just what's being reported. So I like to hold a little bit of positive thoughts here, that with all the things going on that maybe we don't know about, like I said, maybe Carlson's not happy, but he sure isn't. Maybe he told them he doesn't want to be there. Some of the fans don't want him there. Bringing him back might be a mess, for the fans, especially if they bring him back and they can't do anything because their hands are tied. I think they'll resent the kid playing there. So I think in the best interest of Leo Carlson and the Ducks, Pat Verbeek hopefully can swallow his pride and just look at this as a true business decision. They should move on, and they should not match the Flyers' offer. So I will be back as soon as we know about what happens. It's probably going to be Friday night. But until then, go Flyers. And in Flyer Kingdom here, we all have to start saying a prayer, do whatever you need to do to see King Leo here in Philadelphia.